What if the thing you call independence is actually a survival response? You never ask for help. You handle the crisis alone. You solve your own problems. You tell everyone, "I'm fine," even when you are quietly falling apart. And people admire you for it. They call you strong, reliable, capable. But there is a darker question hiding underneath. What happens when being strong becomes the only way you know how to feel safe? Because sometimes hyper-independence isn't confidence. It is what happens when your nervous system learns that depending on someone else is dangerous. And the hardest part? You may not even realize you're afraid of needing people. You may simply believe you don't need them. Imagine something goes wrong. Your car breaks down. You are overwhelmed at work. Your relationship is falling apart. You are emotionally exhausted. Someone you love asks, "Do you need anything?" And almost automatically, you say, "No, I've got it." Maybe you actually do. You figure things out. You make the phone call, pay the bill, solve the problem, keep moving. But there is a difference between being capable of handling life alone and feeling like you must handle life alone. That difference is where hyper-independence begins. A hyper-independent person may struggle to accept even simple forms of support. A friend offers to help carry something. No, it's okay. Someone offers to listen. You don't want to hear all that. A partner tries to take responsibility for something. I'll just do it myself. It can look like confidence from the outside. But internally, there may be a constant calculation. If I don't depend on anyone, nobody can disappoint me. If I don't ask, nobody can say no. If I don't need anything, nobody can take it away. If I stay in control, I cannot be abandoned. And this is where independence quietly changes from a strength into a prison. Because eventually, you stop allowing people to show up for you. Not because you don't love them, but because receiving can feel strangely uncomfortable. You know how to give. You know how to sacrifice. You know how to solve. But being cared for? That can make you restless. You might even feel guilty. You might think, "I don't want to be a burden. I should be able to handle this. Other people have their own problems. I'll deal with it myself." And slowly, something happens. You become incredibly good at surviving while becoming increasingly disconnected from being supported. But here is the dark truth most people miss. Hyper-independence can create the exact loneliness it was originally designed to protect you from. Because relationships require some level of dependence, not helplessness, not losing yourself. Interdependence. The ability to say, "I can handle my life, and I can still let you be here." But to understand why that can feel so difficult, we have to look deeper. Your brain is constantly trying to predict danger. It watches your environment. It studies patterns. And when something repeatedly hurts you, your nervous system learns from it. Imagine growing up in an environment where your needs were dismissed. Maybe emotional support was inconsistent. Maybe asking for help resulted in criticism. Maybe the adults around you were overwhelmed themselves. Maybe you learned very early that nobody was coming. You needed comfort. But you learned to comfort yourself. You needed protection. But you learned to protect yourself. You needed reassurance. But you learned to silence the question. Eventually, the brain creates a powerful association. Need equals vulnerability. And vulnerability equals danger. So the safest strategy becomes, don't need, don't ask, don't depend, don't expect, don't trust too much, don't let anyone have enough power to hurt you. This is not necessarily a conscious decision. That is what makes it so powerful. You may grow into adulthood believing, "I simply have a strong personality. I've always been independent. I don't like relying on people." And perhaps that's partly true. But sometimes personality is shaped around protection. A person who is forced to become emotionally self-sufficient very young may become exceptionally competent later in life. They organize everything. They anticipate problems. They rarely panic publicly. They can walk into chaos and immediately start fixing things. Everyone sees the competence. Almost nobody sees the exhaustion underneath it. Because hyper-independence often comes with an invisible rule. I am safe only when I am in control. And control feels good. Until life gives you something you cannot control. a loss, a betrayal, an illness, a breakup, a financial crisis, a moment when strength isn't enough. Suddenly, the strategy that protected you for years begins to fail, and that can be terrifying. Because asking for help doesn't just mean receiving assistance. Psychologically, it can feel like surrendering control. It can feel like exposing a part of yourself you worked very hard to protect. This is why someone may desperately want connection, while simultaneously pushing people away. They want someone to stay. But when someone gets close, they become uncomfortable. They want support. But when support arrives, they say, "I'm okay." They want intimacy. But vulnerability feels unsafe. And this leads us to the most dangerous phase, when self-protection becomes so automatic that you mistake isolation for peace. Hyperindependence does not come from one single childhood experience. Human beings are complicated. There can be many pathways. Sometimes it develops after repeated disappointment, sometimes after neglect, sometimes after being parentified. When a child takes on responsibilities far beyond what should have been expected of them. Sometimes it develops in environments where emotional expression was treated as weakness. And sometimes it develops simply because the people around you were unable to provide consistent safety. The child adapts. Children are incredibly good at adaptation. If nobody reliably comes when you cry, you eventually stop crying for help. If your emotions overwhelm the people around you, you learn to hide them. If being vulnerable gets you hurt, you become private. If responsibility makes you feel valuable, you become responsible for everything. And the child survives. But the adult may continue living by those same rules. That creates one of the biggest traps of hyperindependence. You can become addicted to being needed while being terrified of needing anyone. You become the person everyone calls, the dependable one, the strong one, the fixer. But when you are struggling, silence. And there is another trap. You may unconsciously choose relationships where you never have to become truly vulnerable. People who are emotionally unavailable can feel strangely familiar. Why? Because intimacy never becomes too threatening. You can care about them. You can give. You can try to earn closeness. But they never get close enough to see everything. So the relationship confirms what your nervous system already believes. See? Depending on people doesn't work. And the cycle continues. You become more independent, more guarded, more self-sufficient. And eventually, you may wonder, why do I feel lonely when I don't actually want anyone? The answer may be uncomfortable. You do want someone. You just don't want the risk that comes with needing someone. Because real connection requires uncertainty. You cannot control whether another person will understand you. You cannot guarantee they will never disappoint you. You cannot eliminate the possibility of loss. And healing does not mean finding a way to make those risks disappear. It means learning that uncertainty is not the same thing as danger. That is the shift. Healing hyperindependence does not mean becoming helpless. It does not mean handing your life over to someone else. And it certainly does not mean abandoning your boundaries. The goal is not dependence. The goal is interdependence. You remain capable. But you stop believing capability means doing everything alone. Start small. Let someone help you with something that does not threaten your autonomy. Accept the favor. Don't immediately repay it. Don't explain why you didn't really need it. Just say, "Thank you." That may sound incredibly simple. But for someone who has built an identity around self-sufficiency, receiving without guilt can be revolutionary. Next, practice asking for small things. Not because you cannot do them yourself, but because asking gives another person the opportunity to participate in your life. Say, "Could you stay with me for a few minutes? Could you help me think this through? I've had a difficult day. Can I talk?" Notice what happens inside you. Maybe your chest tightens. Maybe you feel embarrassed. Maybe you immediately want to say, "Never mind." Don't judge the reaction. Observe it. Your nervous system is learning something new. I can need someone and still be safe. Another important step is separating independence from emotional avoidance. Ask yourself, am I choosing solitude because I genuinely want it? Or am I choosing solitude because being vulnerable feels too risky? Those are very different things. And perhaps the most important question is this: who am I when I am not useful to anyone? If your identity is built entirely around being strong, productive, helpful, and reliable, rest can feel like failure. Receiving can feel like weakness. Needing can feel like shame. But your worth was never supposed to depend on how much you can carry. You are allowed to be cared for. You are allowed to have needs. You are allowed to say, I don't know. You are allowed to let someone else hold the weight for a moment. Because strength isn't the absence of dependence. Real strength is knowing that you can stand on your own, without believing you must always stand alone. And maybe that is the deepest lesson of hyper-independence. The little version of you who learned, nobody is coming, was doing the best they could with what they understood. They built walls because walls worked. They became strong because strength kept them moving. But you are not that child anymore. You have choices now. You can still be capable, still have boundaries, still protect your peace. But you can also open the door. You can let someone sit beside you. You can let yourself be known. Because healing isn't becoming someone who never needs anyone. It is becoming someone who finally understands. Needing people does not make you weak. It makes you human. And sometimes the bravest thing an independent person can say is not, I've got this. It is, I don't have to carry this alone.